Hi, welcome to A Life in the Suburbs with Sharon. I'm Sharon Loudenbach. I am a wife, a mom. I am a resident in White Marsh Township. I'm a real estate agent for Compass Real Estate. I have lived in this region of the Philadelphia suburbs my entire life. And after selling real estate for the last 10 years or so, I started realizing that there are such great people and businesses in the region that I really wanted to share with everybody I know. So I decided to start this podcast. And weekly, we have guests on that have interesting stories, interesting businesses to share with everybody. So before we get to welcoming our guest today, my little tidbit of realtor wisdom today is going to talk about hiring a professional realtor and professional photographer when you're listing your house. One of my friends posted on Facebook today or a couple days ago, a shoot that she found, a listing that she found that had dirty laundry on the floor. In the bathroom, the hair dryer was still plugged into the outlet. They showed actually a picture of the shower with the doors open and literally the filth through the shower. It's very common to see people in the mirrors in the small like powder rooms. You can see the photographer in the photo, et cetera, et cetera. It is really important. The very first thing that buyers see is those listing photos. It is first impressions you can't get out of your head. So make sure not only are you hiring a real estate agent, but make sure that real estate agent hires a professional photographer, doesn't take the photos themselves, and that the agent is there at the time of the photos. Because a lot of the photographers, it's not really their job to go around and put things away on countertops. It's really the job of your realtor. So that's my tidbit for today. Now we get to start with Julia Izenberg. Hi, Julia.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So Julia Izenberg is so she actually is owner of Baked in Conshy by Izenberg's, but all of you would probably know anybody from the suburbs, Conshohocken, Lafayette Hill area has heard of Izenberg's Deli. They've been around years on and off. So, and she has a really cool new business out of it. So that's why I decided to bring her on today. So, um, Julie and I have actually known each other, and I think it's probably since about the time we got married. Did you get
Mm,
married around 1995 also?
1994,
Okay.
almost
Yeah.
30
So,
years.
yeah, we've known each other a really long time.
Yeah.
Her husband Fred owns Eisenberg's Deli in Conshohocken, right on Fayette Street. If you're from the Conshy area, I'm sure that you guys actually know Fred and Julia because they are very present in their deli restaurant. We have a lot to cover, so we're going to get started today. I want Julia, can you start by sharing with our listeners a little bit about you? What were you, and I don't have all the answers to these questions, so I'm really asking for my knowledge. What were you doing before you joined the deli business? Because I know you have not been in it as long as Fred was in the business.
No, Fred's been doing this his entire life. His family did it. I actually met Fred in Colorado and I worked in his uncle's restaurant. And he brought me back to Philadelphia, where his family is from, because he always had this dream of opening his own place.
Mm.
Um, I thought that I was going to be a teacher. I had hoped anyway. And then I really started to enjoy working in the restaurant business with Fred. So when we decided to buy a restaurant with the Barson family
Yeah.
in that was September of 1995, I just dove right into it and really loved it. And I've never looked back.
So, wow, I don't know if I remembered that you were in the business literally from the start. You're talking about the Lafayette Hill location, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not, I obviously I had children, so I was not really present for, a few years at the beginning. Well, at the beginning I was, but
Right.
then I had the kids. Um, but I would say mostly within the last 8 to 10 years, I've been there as much as Fred has. And we've really, really grown things together, which has been really great.
I
Not too many
actually,
husbands and wife can work together, I tell you.
yeah, to be honest, that really wasn't like part of like my prepared questions for myself, but yeah, let's open up about that. My husband and I worked together for about 7 months at one time. He joined my
Yeah.
family business for a brief bit. Tell me about working with Fred. I mean, nothing personal. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Okay. Well, I think because we met working together, um, that helped a lot. There were really no kinks to work out, and there were no, battles of authority or anything going on between the two of us from the get-go. I knew that he knew what he's doing in the kitchen, and he knows that I know what I'm doing out front on the floor. So for the
yeah,
most part, it's fine. And 99% of the time, there's no issues. But of course, every now and again, when the two of us are working together in the kitchen, if we're short-staffed or if we're under a tremendous amount of stress, then the bickering starts. But it's really, really rare, thankfully. We're
how
very,
could it not? I mean, there's
I know.
bickering in my kitchen at my house. Like, because Jeff and I both do enjoy cooking, so I can't imagine that there wouldn't be. And I know you guys are in stressful situations a lot. I've been a patron at the restaurant when it was just like overwhelming. And I remember like the waitress let you guys know that we were there, and you guys, they apologized that you couldn't come out because you're so crazy busy. And it's like like it's just what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's pretty funny.
Oh, sure.
So tell me about just a little bit of back history. So I do remember Izenberg's in Lafayette Hill on Germantown. When
Mhm.
did you venture into Conshohocken?
All right. So we left Lafayette Hill. The restaurant business was really not doing great in like 2006, I think it was. And we
Right.
really wanted to sell, we wanted to get out. We started working in one of our other locations, so we never actually left. So when you were saying on and off since 1995, since we started, we never really stopped. We've been going the whole time and mostly doing catering, but we did it. We left the store in Lafayette Hill and we went into an office building in King of Prussia where we had already been operating.
Okay.
When our lease was up there, we moved back to the Conshohocken area in a little spot at 1600 Fayette Street, which is now Pretty Tasty Cupcakes.
Oh,
Our,
oh my God, I
yeah,
do remember that. Yeah, yeah.
our good friends Kim Stringari owns
Tim
that place.
Cigar, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So anyway, we were there. I mean, the reason we came back to the Conshohocken area is because most of the catering accounts that we had, we got when we were in Lafayette Hill. So it's the Plymouth Meeting, Lafayette Hill,
Yeah,
Conshohocken area, and being out in King of Prussia was just kind of a headache. So
okay.
we looked for a little spot where we could just do catering, and we thought, well, we found this little place. We could do lunch Monday through Friday in the store, breakfast and whatnot, and we'll be home at night. We'll be home on the weekends, and our kids were like, 6 and 10 years old, so it was perfect. No more nights, no more weekends, and that was great. Well, we started building and building and building there, and it became overwhelming. And the man that owns the property where we are right now at 401 Fayette Street in Conshy, um, he had come to see us a couple of times to ask us if we had any interest in
In the
taking the
space.
spot.
Yeah.
The first two times, Fred and I were like, I don't know if we go there, we're going to have to be open 7 days. We're going to have a big staff again. And we weren't really sure we really wanted to do that. And we liked our little, we weren't making as much money, but we had a life. It was quiet. It was just, we did our things and we went home. And then as I said, we started building and building. And finally, the third time he came in, we were ready. I was itching to get back to the social aspect of like being in the
Yeah.
dining room and talking to the customers. And, Fred likes that a little bit, not as much as I do, but, I missed it. So I said, what the heck, we don't really our lease is up here anyway. Let's go check it out. And we did. And we don't look back. We've been there now since it was September of 2017. So we're coming on 7 years in this
So
location.
you really, Pop, when I was starting to design this podcast and think in my head, who am I going to be interviewing? Who's interesting in the region? And you really popped into my head because, I mean, you're the deli on this, first of all, on this side of the river, which you understand, and in Conshy, and you say it so well, by the way. I've lived here my whole life and I still don't say Conshy the right way, but um, like that's a big deal. Like you're talking about like people in your dining room, like the socializing, the courtship of building your clients. And I really believe everybody knows you guys. You're sort of the place that people, you know their name.
Yeah.
Um, and that's really important in a borough town like Conshohocken.
Oh
Um,
yeah. We love, love, love Conshohocken. It's just a
I-
great little town.
yeah, and so you guys, do you still have the older like generation that's like
Mhm.
so loyal and all the younger people I keep selling houses to in Conshohocken? Do they all come to you? Do the younger people come too?
Yeah, I would say that, I mean, I don't know what the average, it depends. I mean, weekends we get a lot of young families,
Mm.
lots of young families. We're very, kid friendly.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
we get business people now are really starting to come back since the pandemic. A lot of people have started going back to the office building, so we're getting a lot of that during the week.
That's great.
Yeah.
So
So
I had planned to ask you something. I really should have asked you this first, but I mean, is there anyone famous or in our Philly minds famous that comes to your deli that you know pretty well?
um well, it's I haven't seen him in a while, but Terrence Howard, I have a little
Yeah.
story about him.
Oh, go. Tell us the story.
So we're in Lafayette Hill. I don't know how much time we have. I'll try to make this quick. Um, he used to come in often years ago. He'd play his guitar with his brother. All the customers loved him. I didn't know who he was at the time. And I
Okay.
remember going to see a movie one day, and the next day I came in and Terrence Howard comes in, and I said to Fred, I'm like, hey, he looks exactly like that guy. And I saw him that movie last night. And Fred, of course, laughed and he said, well, that's because he is the guy that you saw in that movie last night. I'm, oh my God, that's so funny. Anyway, a few months go by and he still comes in from time to time by himself or with his brother. And we had gone through a breakup with our partnership with the Barson family, and we changed the name. And, you know, about a week later, Terrence walks in and he sees Fred in the deli and he says, so, Fred, does family eat free? And Fred said, haha, my family does. And he reaches over the counter and he gives him his hand. He says, cousin, like greeting. We thought that was really cute. Like, what does that mean? And sure enough, right behind him walks in Fred's cousin Lori, who he hadn't seen in 20 some years or more since like a family. They're like second cousins. Anyway, Lori's married to Terrence, or she was at the time. So we were actually related.
Oh my God, that's a great story.
So funny. Anyway, they're
Yeah,
not married anymore, but
he's got a really cool property here in White Marsh.
yeah,
Uh,
I've seen it. Seen it. It's nice.
very, very, very cool piece of property. Right in the heart of everything, right on Ridge Pike. I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah,
But really,
it is
really
nice.
cool.
There's been a
That's
few other people that have come in. We used to get like Joe Frazier, but
oh,
I think he lived in Lafayette Hill before he passed. I thought he did, maybe
I
not.
didn't
Or near.
think I knew that, but
Yeah.
that's cool. No, I figured that
Or
like
near them.
people find you. Like everybody needs their deli,
Oh,
people
thank you for that.
find you. I want to talk. I mean, what really like caught me was your new cake business, and maybe it's bigger than cakes. I don't know. So tell it like what was your inspiration? How did this happen?
So I've always done things like apple cakes and, loaf breads, things that didn't require decorating. Um, I've also always known that I could make things out of clay because, my kids are like to do things out of, like the clay that you can
Yeah.
make things and bake them. So I knew I could do it. So one day we're catering somebody's bris, or their baby's bris. And a few weeks before that, the mom had called and asked if I knew of a bakery that could make a specialty custom cake for the bris. And of course, I'm like, oh yeah,
I
sure. And I
can't
name a
imagine
couple
what
of
that looks
high.
like for a breast, but we're not going to go
Oh,
there. Same
okay, let's just say a ceremonial cake that
cake
had nothing to do with the actual.
event happening. Correct.
Exactly. Anyway, so I had recommended a few high-end bakeries from Ardmore to Chestnut Hill.
Yeah.
I don't need to mention them. I'm sure you know them. But anyway, and she calls me back about 45 minutes later and she said, do you know of any other bakeries because all I want is like this 8-inch round cake with fondant baby booties and maybe a fondant ribbon and bow with the name on the booties, whatnot. But they want like $250 for this little cake. And this is like 8 to 10 years ago. And of course, I'm stunned at what a cake costs with these details. And I said, all right, I know I can bake a chocolate chip cake. I said, I'll make it for you and I can do it for 75. And she said, oh, really? Like you can do that? I said, oh yeah, sure. Well, 7 hours later of making fondant from scratch because I didn't know you could buy it at the, Michael's craft store at the time
Ah,
or whatever, or Joanne Fabrics. They all sell that stuff. I had no idea. So I looked up a recipe. I made it from scratch. To date, it's Fred's favorite cake that I ever made. It took a really long time. But anyway, so after I finished it and I took pictures and I showed Fred and I said, so next time, and he went, next time. I
like
said, yes.
not like you can't
I'm
be there
like,
for
I'm
7
doing,
hours.
yeah, I know. I'm like, I know how I can. I'm a lot faster now, by the way, but I know all the tricks now because now I've watched every YouTube video you can even
Right.
imagine. And I'm a member of a bunch of, baking, decorating forums. And we all give each other advice and give each other tips and whatnot. But I mean, the bug hit me with that cake. And
Do you still like operate the front end of the deli?
I'm out front. So my station where I decorate the cakes is right there in front of the entire dining room. So you actually can watch when I'm doing it, particularly on like Fridays and Saturdays.
Okay.
I'm right there, this plexiglass in front, so you can see me with my turntable and all my stuff.
Okay.
Um, but not usually on Mondays. I'm usually at home. But anyway, oh, what was I gonna say? You just asked me something.
I asked you, are you still in the front?
Oh
So
yeah. So I'm there. I mean, our crew pretty much runs the things themselves, but frequently I'm going to stop and jump out front to maybe help hostess or
right.
bring some drinks to somebody who might be waiting for their server. Like I'll help out a little bit, but it's pretty easy as it is right now.
How
Hopefully
many
it'll
cakes
stay
are
like
you
that.
making a week on average?
Well, it depends on the complexity of the design. I mean, if it's just, basic little birthday cakes, maybe, 20, if that. I mean, not a lot.
A week?
Um, yeah,
Oh, that's a lot.
if I'm doing but that's just your basic little birthday cake. But if I'm doing something that requires a lot of design,
Mm,
generally no more than 1 to 2 a week.
okay.
Because some of them, I've had one cake take, 3 or 4 days. Um, so, it
So,
depends.
I mean, it's interesting because, I'm thinking about the events that you're making these cakes for. They're pretty special. They're weddings, I mean, Christmas. I was thinking mitzvahs. I was thinking, what else did I write down? Mitzvah's birthday, special, obviously special birthday, big birthdays.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, do you sit down with whoever the person is ordering it? Do you get a good story? Like, do you have a good story to share?
Well, I mean, sometimes we sit down, sometimes we do everything over email. They'll shoot me photos of what they're looking for and what the event is about. There's one, I do get close to a lot of the people I do cakes with because I'll start, with, I'm expecting a baby. Can you want to do a gender reveal for me? And I'll do that. And the next thing you know, it's, oh, can you do the baptism or the bris or the baby naming? And then
Yep.
it's the first birthday. And hopefully down the line, it'll be the bridal shower and the wedding. Although I've done bridal showers and weddings, just not for that same person yet. We're getting there. Not quite old enough, but there's one family that I'm very close to, an Orthodox Jewish family in Bala Cynwyd, who they have 3 children. I love them dearly. And my gift to them was to make the cake for the bar mitzvah. But the issue is they're Orthodox, so obviously they're kosher, and we are not a kosher facility. So they had to get permission for me to come and do the cake in their house. And so we got the permission and we had to buy everything, all new bowls, all new rollers, all new cutters, all new, like every single, like piping tips and whatever I needed to do. Um, and now they've got them stored in their basement for the next child. But
For
that,
next time.
that was so special for me. to be able to make that cake for him. So, I
It's
mean,
really cool. Like, so you found something that it takes so many pieces of you, like the creative part and the personal part, and you get into these families. Like it's really cool. Like I think that you're really inspirational, I think, for a lot of families in terms
oh,
of
thank you. It's such a labor of love. So
for
much.
sure.
I'm so lucky,
I
really.
hope your cakes, I'm not saying that they should be $250, but I hope they're not $75 anymore.
Oh no, I learned my lesson.
Right. That's good.
But I
That's
have a
good.
whole new appreciation for cake decorators and bakers that I hadn't had prior to that experience.
Yeah, and so you're talking to a girl who has zero ability or interest in this region. Like I don't know how to work with clay, let alone baking things. So, according to my kids, like I'm good enough in the kitchen to like, make mom's chicken for dinner, but that's about it. But it's really interesting. So just really quick, what are specialties that you do? Will you do gluten-free, dairy-free? Like what are the things?
Yeah, we have a gluten-free and a vegan menu at our restaurant. I can do both with cakes as well. I just always need to make sure that people know ahead of time that obviously we're not a dedicated gluten-free or vegan facility. So if that's an issue, unless you're following those diets by choice and not by medical necessity,
Sure.
you know. Um, and they're becoming very popular, both menus.
Oh, yeah. I mean, has anybody asked you yet about like a keto, like a low carb menu or items?
I've only had one person ask me to make a keto cake, and I haven't done it yet. I have all the
You read
ingredients.
about it?
Yeah, I know. It just seems like, oh, wait, I did once make a keto cake for a customer who was looking for a sugar-free, I think it was a sugar-free low carb cake a
Yeah.
couple of years ago for his wife for Valentine's Day, and I made it. He said it was great. I had never made it before, and it was really kind of a test. But he's since moved out of town, so I haven't seen him since. But anyway, I
That's
do
fun.
look forward to making some more. I haven't had a whole lot of requests for it though.
Do you do all local? You don't ship or anything, or do you ship your other baked goods?
I have not shipped yet, but we are talking about it. We want to do, there are other things that we like to do in our business. I mean, there was a time when we shipped hoagies. It's been years since we did that. We do a lot of, really good homemade soups in the deli and, soups with
Those are
bread.
easy to freeze and ship, I
Yeah.
bet.
A Jewish apple cake. We make an incredibly good Jewish apple cake, and they're there all the time,
Yeah.
almost all the time until we run out, but we
They
make them
run
daily. So we
out.
have those all the time.
All the good stuff. And
Yeah.
everybody has their little favorite thing.
Yeah.
My daughter loves Hamantaschen, so like that's her comfort
We get
food.
that too. We
Yeah,
get that too.
yeah. So, well, I want to give you the opportunity to let people know how to find you. I mean, all of your businesses. So go ahead and promote yourself.
Oh, well, thank you. We are at 401 Fayette Street in Conshohocken. That's 19428. Our phone number is 628-828-8900. Easy to remember. www.izenbergs.com, and we spell it Izenbergs. I hope to see you sometime. 8 to 2 every day.
8 to 2. So back in
Mhm.
the day, before we shut down, but back in the
Mhm.
day, delis used to be open for dinner. Did it really get killed because of COVID? And
Well, we stopped opening for dinner when we moved to Conshohocken back in, actually, no, since we left Lafayette Hill. So we haven't been open for dinner since 2006.
yeah,
But, you know, we definitely shortened our hours. We were open 7 to 3, and then it was really tough to get staff when we were, opening back up. So we did 8 to 2 because we didn't want to overkill our staff.
yeah,
And that just seems to work for everyone. So we
it's
kind of,
working.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, growing up, I used to go to the deli sometimes for dinner, the roasted chicken.
yeah.
Memories, right?
Every now and again, we talk about, do you think we should open up for dinner? And then we remember how exhausting that is for us.
I'm not suggesting. I'm just throwing out some
I,
memories. That's all. Well, first of all, say hi to Fred for me. It's been a
I
while
will.
since I've
Good
seen
job.
him. And thank you for joining Life in the Suburbs with Sharon. This is really fun to see actually people that I haven't seen in a while and get to
Yeah,
reach out to people. So
agreed. Thanks for having me.
absolutely. So if you are looking for more information on Life in the Sharon, Life in the Suburbs with Sharon, I do have a YouTube channel. Check it out. Otherwise, you can always find me on all of the socials under Sharon Loudenbach and SharonLoudenbach.com. Thanks again, Julia. See you all next time.
Bye. Thank you.